Welcome to Live DAF, your online DAF Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem. Welcome back to today's DAF, Bava Kamma DAF Kuf Yud Beis. We are holding right on top of the Amid on the first line, Rav Adar bar Ava, Masni Loha, de Rami bar Kamma Aha. So yesterday we had the halacha presented by Rami bar Kamma, who proved from our Mishnah that Rishus Yoresh ki Rishus Lokeach Domi, which basically means like this: if a fellow was robbed and he was miyayish, he gave up on ever getting back that item. So Yush did take place, and then the item actually did not stay by the Gazlan, it was transferred, it was sold, or it was passed on to his children through Yerusha. Says Rami bar Kamma, Rishus Yeresh, the possession, the domain of a Yeresh, who got something from his father who stole, is like a Rishus Lokeach, like a customer who purchased it from the Gazlan, in which case it is considered to have changed hands, changed possession. It's a new Rishus. And that combination, Yush on account of the victim, and Shini Rishus, which transpired later, that disengages it from the victim, and now this new fellow, the Lokeach, as well as the Yeresh, is not obligated to return anything. So the Chiddush was that a Yeresh is not considered like, just a carryover from his father, just like a hemsheich. No, it's considered a new entity. Now, according to Rabbi Adar bar Ava, Rabbi bar Kamma's concept was applied to it was sourced from a different halacha. It was sourced in the following brayse. It's a brayse in Bava Mitzvah. It is after. Hineach lehenavian moishal ribis. Father had lent someone money. He got interest payments, ribis payments, which of course is forbidden, which is meant to be returned to the leiva, to the borrower. Father inherited that money to the kids. They know full and well. They're fully aware that this money given to them is ribis. They have no obligation to return it to the borrower. This teaches us an interesting halacha that, as we said, Rishus Lokeach Domi, that the Rishus of a Yeresh is like Rishus of Lokeach, and again it's based on this point that the fellow had given up on it, it was Yush, and now that it's been transferred over to the next generation, then there's no need for them to return it. They keep it. Rava of course disagreed yesterday, and likewise today as well. No, a Yeresh just carries on for the father. It's not a new domain, it's not a new entity. Rava Amar I can argue and say Rishus Yeresh Lav is not considered Rishus Lokeach Domi. So why, in fact, do the kids not return this money? Here it's very different. The pasuk in obligating the malva to return the ribis tells you, don't accept interest payment. And the pasuk continues, right? Have him live with you, meaning let him have his money back, so that he has ample resources, just like you. So basically, it's a very personal obligation. Return the money to him. He should have a good life with you. It's a personal obligation. It's instruction for the malva who took the money. But librei doesn't apply to his kids. It's a very personal obligation, and therefore there's good reason why the kid doesn't have to pay. But that does not in any way teach us anything about this idea that Rishus Lokeach is a separate Rishus. There's a specific reason exclusive to ribis. Now, we have basically two versions, right? Whether Rami bar Kamma was focused on the Mishnah by us, right? The fellow robbed and gave to his kids, and they inherited it from him. Or it's based on the halacha of ribis, where the kids likewise don't have to repay. So man de masna brisa, the one who proposed this version, that Rami bar Kamma's halacha was on the brisa, and The reason why the kids don't repay is because it's a new entity. They're considered a new rishus. Kolshke namasnisin. Certainly, this concept can be learned from our Mishnah over here as well. Father stole, inherited to the kids. Why don't the kids repay? For this reason. But man, they must masnisin. But according to the first version, that Rabbi Kamma's halacha was sourced in our Mishnah, where the father stole and gave it to the kids, Yerusha. We see that Yerusha is a new entity, Avala Braisa, but truthfully, the Braisa that we just mentioned with Ribbis would not have necessarily provided the same type of source. Because Rabbi Bar Kamma could Rava Masnila. He could have learned like Rava. The reason is because Ribbis is a personal obligation, unrelated to this idea of Rishus, Yerish, etc. Fellow robs and feeds its kids, right? And he passes on his mates. The kids don't have to, repay for the father's, criminality. What about hinech lefneim? He stole the item and he presented it to the kids, and then he passed away, and it's still there. They have it intact. G'doylem chayav. If they're adults, they have to repay it. Right? Chayav on l'shalim. But k'tanim p'turim l'shalim. If they're minors, they don't have to repay it. Rashi explains, this follows Sumchus's Shita, who holds that k'tanim are exempt. We can't take them to the bezdin. They're not, legal age to deal with Dinei Torah, so they just hold on to it. Goodbye. Now, adults do have to repay, but if they get up and argue as follows, perhaps our father stole his car, but we have no idea. Perhaps he already settled the account with you. Maybe there was some sort of loan that that was coming to our father from you. So perhaps you just called it a day. You evened out your cheshbonus, so we don't have to repay for this stolen item term. So in this case, they're potter. Really? Mishum da Amri? Just because they're proposing, they're theorizing. They don't know for a fact. They're just suggesting. We have no idea. We have no clue. That makes them pturim. Amar Rava, no, they know. Amar means like this. They're claiming with definitiveness. We happen to know that our father was owed money by you and he worked it out with you. There's nothing owing to you. He didn't leave anything that was owing to you. You haven't left anything gabei by him. Basically, he doesn't owe you anything. So now they're potter. Here comes a new price. Person steals and feeds his kids. They're exempt. But if he presented it to them, right, and he passed away, they ate it after he passed away, being g'dolim, being tanim chayavan. Whether they're g'dolim or tanim, they have to repay it. Asks the Gemara, that's good by the g'dolim, but k'tanim mimechayvi, why are the k'tanim paying for something they ate? Lo yeheya lo da'azak azuki. At worst, it's like they broke a window, and we all know that a katan who breaks something, who damages, who harms, he's not responsible. He's not obligated. We have this back in the Mishnah, right? On Peizayin and Aleph. Amar Papa Chikama, the Brisa means like this. He left them the item, and then he passed away. And it's still here, still intact. Being doilim, being tanim chayavim, they're chayiv, irrespective of their age. And Rashi points out this is not consistent with the previous Brisa, which was sumchas that a katan is potter even to return something intact. Here we say no. If it's here, even a katan has to return it. Amar Rabba. A new case. Father had borrowed a cow, and he left it behind. He passed on, he left it behind. He had borrowed it for, 6 months. The kids can continue using it throughout that term. But here's the catch. Should the animal die mid-term, typically a shayel is chayiv, even by oinus, and even if it's an accident, but here they're not obligated, they never submitted to this obligation. Ein chayav b'ein seah. Interesting halacha, that they only have the benefits. Only upside, no downside. Next case. They thought this cow in the backyard belonged to their father. They didn't know that it was borrowed. And they slaughtered it and they ate it. Mishalman, they have to pay, but not actual market value, because although they were mazik, but it was a total oinus gomer. They had no clue, no reason to think that it wasn't their father's. So they only pay what they actually benefited, which is sort of discount rate. What you would pay for meat wholesale discount. The meibasa bezoil. Rashi says it's about 2/3 of the actual retail value. But if the father left behind some real estate, which is called achrayis nechasim, chayav nashal, that changes the halacha they have to pay. Now, this halacha that when there's property, the equation changes. Which cases are going on? We have two cases, so we have a difference of opinion. Ika the maslan ratio. Some applied it to the first case in Rava's statement. V'ika maslan seifa. Some applied it to the second halacha presented by Rava. And the Gemara explains. On the maslan ratio, if we apply it to the first halacha, kol shekina seifa certainly applies to the second halacha. Upliga de Rav Papa. It doesn't work with Rav Papa. Let me explain. So there's a shaila. We know that a borrower is fully committed to compensate the owner for anything that happens, even an oinus, right? Even if the animal gets killed by accident, the shaila is responsible. And likewise, his nechasim, his property, is there to back up that commitment. Is meshubad to compensate for any losses, right? Does it happen as soon as he takes possession of the animal? Or do we say it only happens later when the incident actually occurs? At what point does the shibud get triggered? Do his assets become bound and committed for that repayment? So according to Rav Papa, it only happens later. When the oines, when the accident happens, that's when the chiyuv kicks in. Not as soon as he takes possession. So according to the first version, man de maslan reish, which is that the halacha, that if the father leaves behind property, the kids are fully liable, is applicable to the first case of Rav, where they knew that the para was a borrowed para, they just continued using it, and they have a right to use it, but if something happens, they're not responsible. But if the father left behind karka, they are responsible, because they're not responsible, but the karka has that lien on it. It's meshubad from that first moment that the father borrowed the cow. So koshkin hasefa, certainly the same liability we apply to the second case, certainly in that case where the father failed to inform them that this was a borrowed cow and causes them to slaughter it. He's sheya, it's not right negligence. Of course, in that case, the properties, the karkois, are meshubad for full repayment. Upliga de Rav Papa. It doesn't work with Rav Papa. Rav Papa disagrees. He holds that the shibud, this sort of monetary commitment, which gets applied to the borrower's assets and commits them to compensate for any losses, that only happens when the incident actually occurs. In this case, after father's passing. So the kids wouldn't be responsible if the animal dies behind this. But man nemaslan safe, according to the other approach, this halacha, that the presence of real estate changes the equation, was applied to the second case, where the father was careless in failing to inform them that this was a borrowed cow and causes them to slaughter it. In this case, certainly he's chayiv, or his property is chayiv. Right? Aval reisha loy, but it wouldn't apply to the first case, where it was an oinus. It was not a pshia, it was an oinus. And that oinus happened after his passing. So this would not increase their liability. And this is exactly like Rav Papa. The Amar Rav Papa, right? So Rav Papa highlights this point that the chiyuv of oinus only gets triggered at the point of the incident. So picture a fellow who stole a cow. Stole it on Friday, okay? He did the shchita on Shabbos, which typically triggers that, Bava Kamma, payment, 4 times, 5 times payment, right? So he's chayiv. In this case, he has to pay fully. Although typically we know that when a person commits a malacha, does a malacha on Shabbos together with another act which triggers financial liability, we say kimli b'derabim, he gets the most severe punishment, he gets the death penalty. There's no simultaneous triggering of any financial liabilities. But in this case, although he did the shchita on Shabbos, which is not right malacha, which earns him chiyuv misa chayiv, he has to fully pay for the animal. You know why? Listen to this. Shekvar chiyuv b'gneva koydem sheyava de'eser Shabbos. Because when did the chiyuv gneva kick in? When he stole it, before Shabbos. So the Chiyuv Mammon happened then. And although the Tvicha happened on Shabbos, Rashi explains that when it comes to Knas, we don't say this halacha of Kimle b'drab b'minei, it's only Misa, not Knas. So the Chiyuv Mammon happened before Shabbos, whether it's the Kefil, whether it's the Dal, so everything gets paid out. Okay? But Hoysa Parash Ulaloi, let's say he had a borrowed cow from before Shabbos, v'tvacha b'Shabbos. He proceeded and stole it on Shabbos. He did the tvicha, which is a malacha. Here he's potter. You know why? She'isur Shabbos v'isur gneva b'an ke'echad. Because when he borrowed it on Friday, he wasn't really chayiv anything yet. Right? That's Rav Papa's idea. You're not chayiv when you borrow it. You only chayiv if something happens later. When it happens, that's when the chiyuv is triggered. In this case, it was triggered at the point of the tvicha, which is the moment that he stole it, which was when on Shabbos. So Isur Shabbos, Isur Gneva happens together. He's potter. So this is Rav Papa's point, that the chiyuvim only gets triggered at the point of the incident, not beforehand. Tonu Rabban. He's meant to return the item that he stole. Why add these words asher gazel? He's only going to return it if it's here. But if it's gone, he's potter. What does that mean? Evidently, there's more to the story, right? Because the Ganav himself, of course, has to repay whether it's here or not here. Rather, we're speaking where there are kids on the scene. The Ganav is gone, but there are Yerushim. Mikan Amr, we learn from this pasuk, Hagoyz lo machlas banav. If he steals and feeds his kids, P'turim l'shalom, they don't have to repay it. But a niach lefneim, let's say he presented them with the item, and he died, and the item is still intact, being doilim, being tanim, chayvun l'shalim, they must repay, whether they're adults or children. Right, here's that machlekes we mentioned before. Mishum sumchas amru, but according to sumchas, we say, no, gedoilim, chayavim, ktanim, turim, if they're ktanim, they're pot. And the more someone explained, this relates to the idea that you can only extract money from a Baal Din who's mature and cognizant of the claim being claimed against him, as opposed to Ktanim who don't have that ability. They're not able to deal with these. So mainly you can't force them to repay. And there was a story, Bar Chamua, the son of the father-in-law, the Rabbi Yirmiyah. So Rabbi Yirmiyah's father-in-law passed away. And the son, who was a katan, he was Rabbi Yirmiyah's brother-in-law, Tarak, he closed Gali, the doors, Ba'pei, Rabbi Yirmiyah, to block Rabbi Yirmiyah from coming into the house. Rabbi Yirmiyah had a claim on the house, that he bought it, whatever, and the child now blocked him out, locked out his brother-in-law, Rabbi Yirmiyah. Also came to Rabbi Abin, so he came to Rabbi Abin to complain, Amar. So Rabbi Abin says, listen, kid's right, Shalom Yutaveya, he has a right to keep his name. So Rabbi Yirmiyah says, what do you mean? I have proof that it's mine, but my sinah sahadi, I'll bring Adam the Achsaki, Beibechai Davo. I was in possession of this house for 3 years running during the father's lifetime, which proves that it's mine. Amalei says, well, too bad. Who says? Since when can we listen to Adam when there's no litigant, there's no baldin, there's no opposing party present? That's the halacha, right? And here, even though the kid is here, but he's a kid. Rashi says on top, we consider it as though there's no baldin here. A katan doesn't have the ability to counter-argue and to defend himself, so he can't proceed. Asks the Gemara, what do you mean? V'loi, really? Not? We have a brisa. The stolen item is here. Whether the kids are big or small, they have to return it. Amalei, so he responded, Hare machlekes. Actually, it's not so clear. Hare machlekes, sumchas b'tzedcha. The shita of sumchas is right there on your side, meaning he disagrees with Bava Kamma. He also, you cannot deal with a katan. Omar, Rabbi Yirmiyah responds, really? So everybody holds like sumchas. Ichbel kula alma. Everybody troubled themselves. It's an expression. They all ganged, so to speak. They all bundled together. V'koyik sumchas, like sumchas is shita. La'afkun they did to make me lose my thing that's rightfully mine. Basically, who says we follow sumchas? Maybe we follow the chachamim. who apparently hold that this is not a concern. You can go ahead and extract a stolen good from a katan. Likewise, I want my house back. Okay, so this got a little drawn out. Adahachi, it turns out that Igalgal Musa. So the whole story ended up being presented, and it ended up by Asa Umatal came to Rabbi Abba. Ravo came to Ravo, and he heard the story, and he responded like this. Amar, he says, Leishmei lechod Rabbi Yosef Bava Kamma. Amar Rabbi Yeshua, haven't you heard of the halacha of Rabbi Yosef? Don't Rabbi Yosef Bava Kamma Rabbi Yeshua. Tinok shetakav ba'avadav. So a child grabbed his slaves, v'yorad l'soich sodesh hachaver, and entered his neighbor's field. V'amar shaliu, and he claims that it's his. Ein imrim nantin asher yagdel. We don't say, okay, listen, we can't deal with a katan, right? So we have to wait until he grows up. In the meantime, he stays in the field. We don't do that. We get it out of him right away. When he grows up, then he'll have a chance to present his case. He'll bring his edim, we'll see what to do. So here as well, Rabbi Yehuda is entitled to the house. The katan can't just grab it away. Well, Midami, how do you compare those two stories? Yeah, over there, it makes sense that we take it out of the katan's possession because he has no proof that it was his father's. We don't know that his father was in possession of that field, just a random field that he walked into. So just because it's a katan, he has no right to grab fields. Can't take advantage of his youth privileges to do anything he wants. But here, we know that it was this kid's father. Rabbi Yehuda is trying to take it away. He has to wait until he becomes a gadol and deal with him then. Amar Rav Ashi, Amar Rav Shafsai. Typically, right, we don't proceed in litigation without the two parties, but we have some exceptions. Mekablan edim shalei b'fnei baldin. We do that. We are mekabel edim even without the baldin present. Toibar Rabbi Yehuda challenged this. What do you mean? Mekablan edim shalei b'fnei baldin? Really? How could that be? Answers the Gemara. Kibla minei Rabbi Chanina. So Rabbi Chanina was a makabel from Rabbi Yehuda. He was explained by Rabbi Yehuda that this halacha of Rabbi Shapsoi pertains to a very specific case, not a typical situation where you have you have the time to wait. Let's say the baldin was very unwell, or the edim that he's presenting at the case were unwell, or the edim which are going to defend him and promote his case are about to leave town. So the claimant is trying to get somewhere. We call the defendant and he's not showing up. So circumstance requires to just continue and proceed without his presence. We do that. Really? Explain to me from Shmuel. It's a very specific case. You go into Poschule Bedine. What happened was like this. They started litigating the case, and the Teveya is trying to proceed and bring the Edim, and the other fellow is not showing up, disappears. He sent a message to the defendant, he's not showing up. So now we just proceed. But otherwise, we haven't yet begun the case. So the defendant can say, look, you can't force me to come to this bezdin. I have a different bezdin. I know the bezdin not godless. I'm going to go to a big bezdin, to the grand bezdin, to the Supreme Court. Asks Gemara if that's his argument, and it's a valid argument, he postulate nami. So if we began the proceedings, why can't he claim as the same thing? Nami matzi amalei lebezdin godless. I want to go to the bezdin godless Yerushalayim. Ravina says like this. We're speaking of the naka disk and bezdin godless. The fellow, the Teveya, has a star from the bezdin godless with a message that the court case is meant to be dealt with the local bezdin. Here, they don't want to deal with it, so in this case he has no argument. Amar Rav. Although, when it comes to interpersonal matters, we need both sides here, but let's say the Malva has a star, and there's some questions in terms of the validity of the star. He wants to be Mekayim the star, which basically means that the bezdin will sit down and verify its validity and confirm the authenticity of the signatories, we can do it even without the other party present. And Rashi says, we're speaking that the Edom who are going to confirm the signatures are about to leave town. So once again, we make exception to the rule, and we have the Bezdin issue that confirmation and certification right now. Rabbi Yehuda Amar no, ein mekaymen es ashtar. We don't do it shaloi b'fnei baldin without both sides. I'll explain to you why Rabbi Yehuda insists that all sides are here. The pasuk says as such. You warn the owner of the animal, right, to keep an eye on his animal. Torah is teaching us the fellow has to be present. Before you start, the Baal Asher has to be there. Amar Rabba, Hilchasa, the halacha is, we don't need the other fellow around. Mekaymen es hashtar, we can certify your shtar, shalei b'fnei baldin without the loiva around. And even, listen to this, even if the loiva is yelling and screaming, it's a forged document. Don't confirm it, don't certify it. We ignore him and we proceed until he can prove otherwise, right? Vima Amar. But let's say now, the loiva says, okay, this is on to a new point. You have a shtar chayv, he owes you money, and you're about to collect on it with the Bezdin's authority. And the loiva says, look, you know what, give me some time. Amar nekitu lizimna, give me 30 days. Ad ma'isina sahadi. I have some Edom that want to bring him around the shtar. I'm going to prove the shtar to be forged. Do we listen to him? Yeah. We give him some time. We give him a reasonable amount of time to do that. If he shows up, asa, fine. If he doesn't show up, bahab, we wait another little bit. Bahab means Monday, Thursday, Monday. So we give him like a little bit of an extension. If he doesn't show up, that's it. We proceed to the next stage in the process, which is a psicha. We write a shtar, like a shtar nida, like a cherem, because he's ignoring the Bezdin, he's not paying up his debts. And we wait another 90 days. Why? The first 30 days of that 90, we don't actually collect his, expropriate his assets for collection of the debt. You know why? The Amru, because we give him the benefit of the doubt. He's probably looking to find some money. He's looking for funding. So we give him that 30 days. He's trying to find money to borrow to repay the loan. The middle of 30 days, the next 30 days, the reason why we don't collect his properties, the Amar, because we think like this. Maybe he couldn't find any funding, any money to borrow, and he's actually making an effort to sell his assets to pay back the loan. So we give him another 30 days. Likewise, the last 30 days we don't either repossess his assets. You know why? The Amar, because we think like this. Perhaps he offered his property for sale at a good price, and the lekech, his potential customers, his buyer, is now looking for funding as well. So we give everybody the benefit of the doubt. We give them another 90 days. But now let's say he didn't show up after 90 days. We issue a new document, a collection notice, so the Malva can go and repossess that property. All these extensions is only when the labor claims that he's cooperating, he's coming. So we give him a little extra time. But let's say, right off the bat, he says, I'm not coming, I'm not paying this debt. That allows us to skip all these, middle, stages and go straight to the point. We allow him to repossess the loiva's property. And likewise, all these extensions only apply to a loan, which was spent, and we give him that opportunity to go and try to fund it. But if the claim pertains to an item that was deposited under his care, he has no excuse. Where is it? And here we just skip all these stages and we go straight to the point. we allow the owner to collect on it right away. And whenever we do write these, issue these collection documents, we only authorize the fellow to collect properties. But we don't authorize him to collect, other items. Why? You know why? There's a good chance that the malva will quickly use up, whatever he collected. It'll be gone in no time, right? So Makarki is going to be staying here, but the metaltlin could be gone here today, gone tomorrow. So what's the problem with that? Because you never know what might happen down the road. This whole thing might be proven to be a farce. And the Levi shows up a week later with Adam to prove his case that this whole thing was a fraud. The shtar was really forged. We have no recourse. The cars are gone. The money's gone. He'll find nothing to recollect. So therefore we insist on collecting only karka, which will assure us, due process. Now, in a situation where the malva who's collecting these items has his own karka to back up any potential, counterclaim, kasvina, in this case we allow him to collect even metaltlin. At worst case, we'll just address the counterclaim by collecting karka from the malva. It's incorrect. Adrachta metaltlin kasvina. We never issue this adrachta, collection authorization on metaltlin. Even though the malva has karka chashin, and you know why? We're concerned that maybe his karka will go down in price, or get ruined. He won't have anything to pay up. Now, when we do proceed with the adrachta process, which basically means a psaktin, which allows the malva to actually be goyve to collect nechasim from the leiva, we inform the leiva that it's coming. And some of Farshim learn it's going on cases where we hadn't waited all this period, all these times for whatever reason. So at least we inform him, we tell him what's coming. That's only if he's close by within a day's travel. If he lives far away, we don't trouble ourselves to wait. If he mirchak, we could crave him. And in a case where he lives far away, but we know he has relatives locally who will inform him. Inami or ika shayrasa the ozle v'asohas. Or we know there are caravans, travelers going back and forth to that place. So we give them that extra time. For 12 months. And the Ozli of Shayrasa, in which case we know that the caravans, the travelers had traveled back and forth and he's fully informed. So now it's fair to proceed. As we find in the following story, Kuhad Ravina was the Dayan, Shahal Maracha. Maracha was this Malve, the creditor. So when it came time to collect on it, Ravina waited on him. Teresa Yachashati made him wait 12 months at the Ozl of Asi Sharasa, Bechuzoi, to give the Shayores, the caravans, a chance to go and come from Bechuzoi, where the Loiva resided. So we see this point. V'lohi says the more it's incorrect. You can't prove anything from there. That involved a very special circumstance. Hossam there, Inish Ali Mahava, this Bar Acha, who was owed the money, was a strong, violent, a difficult person. And therefore, Ravina took extra precaution before allowing him to collect on his loan. Once the adrachta, the shtar, would be given to this fellow, you can never get it out of him anymore. You couldn't get it out of him, meaning that's it. Case closed. And therefore, Ravina was concerned that perhaps, the Leiva might come up with some sort of argument, some sort of counterclaim. So he waited out. But in a typical case, we were dealing with, regular, civilized people. We don't wait that long. Ella the Ozl Shlicha, you only give him, a couple of days to allow the Shlich of Bezin to go find him. He leaves on Tuesday. Comes back on Wednesday, meaning he lives within a day's travel. That's a reasonable amount of time to wait. And if he's unwilling to come and address his debts, come Thursday, which is when the Bezin sits down and conducts their court cases, right? So we give him a chance to the shliach informs him on Tuesday, comes back with the fellow on Wednesday, and Thursday, if he chooses to come to the Bezin, he can come to Bezin and deal with his situation. So we give him that chance, that last chance. But we don't wait much longer than that. Continues the Gemara. Amar Ravina, Hashlucha d'Rabbanan, Memnin lik beitrei. Here comes a chiddush. If the Bezdin sends their marshal to go inform the fellow to come that there's a din Torah awaiting him, and the shliach returns to the Bezdin with bad news, look, this fellow is not cooperating, we trust him like two people. He has the din of Eidim. Because why would he lie in the Bezdin? That only pertains to the question of whether to impose a cherem on him for non-cooperation. Aval psicha is a more of a formal type of, a written, a documented shtar cherem. There we wait. Kiva the momentum machshale, since it's going to cause the fellow a loss of mumming. Why? The kabayil leila mesav lezuzi l'safra. Allah is that we charge this uncooperative fellow whatever it costs us to, put together this document, the sefer fee. So since it involves monetary loss, we can't just, take the shliach Bezdin's word for it that this fellow is not cooperating. We need to aid him, as we know that when it comes to dinei mamonos, it can only be processed through to aid. Okay, continue the sugya tomorrow. So in brief summation, we had the halacha of Rabbi Kamma. Yerush is like Rishus Lekeach. We had two possible sources for the halacha. We discussed ribis payment only to the father. The kids don't have to repay their father's ribis. We had an interesting machlekes where Sumchas tells us that a katan is not responsible to return even an item that his father left for him. A stolen item which is intact, the katan is not a baldin who can be dealt with in the bezdin. If we wait until he grows up, Chachamim disagree on that. We had a Papa's chiddush that the shoyels chiyuv of oinus only gets triggered at the point of the incident, not at the point of the borrowing. And we had all kinds of nafkaminas regarding Yershim. We proceeded with this idea of doing edus only b'fnei baldin. Typically it applies, but in some cases, special circumstances due to the sickness, illness, or whatever it is that it's a time-related situation. Then, time is of essence. We make an exception. We allow the Aiden to be makabel the edus even without the baldin. We paskin that you could be mekayim shtar without the baldin present, and we discuss the process of collecting a loan. All the best to you, and hatzlacha rabba.